Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're not really talking about luck or fate or, random chance.
No.
We're talking about something you can actually control, something you can measure. We're talking about decision quality.
Exactly. And specifically, decision quality under pressure.
Right, when information is, it's deliberately incomplete.
Yeah, when people analyze success in these fields, like investing or high-stakes games, they always focus on the technical stuff, the rules, the numbers. But the real edge, the thing that separates the good from the great, happens in the process. It's about how you think when the stakes are high and your emotions are running wild.
And to really study that thinking process, we're jumping into one of the best laboratories for it there is, the game of poker.
It's perfect for it. Incomplete information, probability, psychology, it's all there.
And tiny, tiny edges in how you make decisions can compound into, massive results over time.
And the tool we're going to unpack today to improve that decision quality is something called mental models.
Okay, what are those exactly?
They're just frameworks, lenses, really, that you can use to look at a complex reality and simplify it.
So they give you structure.
Structure and calm. They help you stay composed when the adrenaline's pumping and find clarity when everything feels confusing.
Okay, so let's get into it. Our sources lay out 6 of these really powerful thinking tools, and these aren't specific poker plays, right?
Not at all. They're ways to approach thinking itself. They're transferable skills.
Our mission for this deep dive, then, is to distill those 6 frameworks.
Yeah, and explore how they actually work. As one of our sources put it, poker is a complex game. Mental models make it easier to understand and play beer.
And we're going to show you how they can transform your own thinking to get smarter choices and hopefully better results.
Let's do it.
Okay, so where do we start? I'm thinking efficiency.
That's the right place. Before you can even play the game, you have to know how to learn, how to improve.
We've all got limited time, limited mental energy, so you need a model for that.
And the first framework is a classic one, the 80-20 rule.
The Pareto principle.
Right, from the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto. He noticed that roughly 80% of the land in Italy was owned by just 20% of the population.
And that's a universal truth, right?
Right.
Roughly 80% of effects come from 20% of the causes.
Exactly.
You see it in business all the time. 80% of your revenue comes from 20% of your clients. But how do you apply that to something as complex as poker? Where is the 20%?
You look for the things that happen most often and have the biggest impact. The 80-20 rule in poker suggests that about 80% of your profits will come from just 20% of the hands you play.
Okay.
So it follows that 80% of your study time should be focused on the 20% of skills that impact those high leverage spots.
This is huge for anyone trying to figure out what to study. You could spend hours on these weird, obscure river spots that happen once a month.
But you'd be missing the point. The practical application is to focus on fundamentals that happen constantly.
Like what?
Like perfecting your pre-flop ranges, which hands you decide to play from where, and really dialing in your big blind defense.
Because those happen almost every single orbit.
Every orbit. And a tiny improvement there gives you much bigger returns than mastering some, rare, complicated bluff. That's your 20% of focus that drives the majority of your profit.
I do wonder, though, isn't there a pitfall? Does the 80-20 rule sometimes encourage, laziness?
It can if you misuse it, but it's not a one-and-done thing.
What do you mean?
It's a filter you constantly apply. When you hit a plateau, you use it to reevaluate. You ask, okay, what's my biggest leak now? Am I spending my time on that? It forces you to keep reprioritizing.
I like that. Okay, so that's addition. What about the opposite?
Perfect transition. That brings us to our second model for improvement, via Negativa.
Addition by subtraction.
Exactly. It's this idea, which has roots in philosophy and even theology, that improvement often comes not from adding things, but from removing them.
So instead of asking, what new complex strategy can I learn?
You ask, what unprofitable mistake can I just stop doing?
That's a huge mental shift.
It is. We're always looking for the next shiny new thing to add. But via Negativa forces you to look inward. Maybe you review your games and realize, playing certain hands from early position is just a consistent money loser.
So you just stop.
You just start. And your win rate immediately improves without learning a single new thing.
I love how this applies to the mental game, too.
Oh, for sure.
Via Negativa in practice could be, stop checking your phone between hands.
Yeah.
Stop playing when you're tired or hungry.
Or the big one, stop playing when you're emotionally compromised. We call it going on tilt. If being tired or angry is an automatic leak for you,
then cutting that session short is actually a win.
It's a huge win.
Yeah.
You're saving money and mental energy. It's addition by subtraction.
It's so counterintuitive. We're all wired to think more action, more input, more doing equals more gain.
And that's the bias. This model requires the discipline to just prune away the stuff that's not working.
Okay, fantastic. So we've covered how to improve efficiently. Now let's shift to models for actually reading the game, for analyzing opponents.
This is where we get into strategic analysis. And we have two classics here, Occam's razor and inversion.
Occam's razor. I think most people have heard of this one.
Yeah, it comes from the philosopher William of Occam. And it basically says that when you're faced with a bunch of possible explanations,
The simplest one is probably correct.
is usually the one. Yeah. Don't overcomplicate things.
This is a trap I see so many smart people fall into. They assume everyone else is playing this 5-dimensional chess game.
We call it fancy play syndrome.
Right.
You see an opponent make a weird bet and you start inventing these wild stories. Oh, he knows that I know that he knows.
When the real reason is.
He misclicked, or he just has a really good hand and he's playing it in a really simple way.
So let's take an example. A very cautious, tight player starts betting really aggressively on a scary board. What does Occam's razor tell you?
It tells you the simplest explanation is the most likely one. He has a really strong hand.
He's not running some kind of super sophisticated multi-level bluff.
Probably not. You have to assume simplicity first until you have a very good reason not to.
You know, this also applies so well to learning. If you can explain a complex idea simply,
Then you truly understand it.
it's that Einstein idea, right?
Yay.
Simplicity is the highest form of intelligence.
Exactly. Now, on the other side of strategic thinking, we have inversion.
This one is about looking at the downside.
Right. It was a big deal for the Stoics, like Epictetus. The idea is to approach problems backwards. You think about what you want to avoid first.
So instead of thinking from the start of the hand about how to win the most,
You start at the end, you think, what's the worst possible outcome here? What could go disastrously wrong if I take this line?
it's a way of spotting traps ahead of time.
It is. It helps you see gaps in your strategy that just thinking forward might miss.
Let's take bluffing. Most people just think about the thrill of making the other person fold.
But with inversion, your focus shifts. You're trying to minimize your loss, not just maximize your win.
So you ask,
What happens if I get called? What kind of hand am I trying to represent? And do I have enough fold equity to even try this?
hold on, let's define fold equity for everyone.
Good call. Fold equity is just the probability that your opponent will actually fold to your bet.
So if there's a very low chance they'll fold,
Then your bluff is a bad idea. Inversion forces you to see that the downside, losing a big pot with nothing, is just too great. It's a risk management filter.
this seems absolutely critical for tournament players.
Oh, absolutely.
Because your chips, they change in value depending on how many people are left. Sometimes just surviving is more important than accumulating.
That's it, exactly. Inversion helps you shift from a mindset of pure profit to one of survival when the situation demands it.
All right, we got models for studying and for reading the game. The last two are maybe the most important. They're psychological,
They really are. This is about managing tilt, managing perspective when things go wrong,
which they always do.
inevitably. And managing your emotions is often the biggest difference between amateurs and pros. It all starts with being able to step outside your own head.
And that brings us to the model of relativity.
Right. Relativity just acknowledges how hard it is to see a situation clearly when you're in it, when you're emotionally and financially invested.
You get blind spots.
Big ones. It's like being in a fishbowl. You can't see the water, you can't see the glass, you just see what's right in front of you.
We've all seen it, right? You're watching a friend play a hand, and the right move seems so obvious to you.
Of course.
But the person in the hand is completely blind to it. How do you develop that muscle, that ability to get an outside perspective in the moment?
It takes deliberate practice. You have to build systems.
Like what?
Like discussing hands with trusted friends after the fact, or recording your sessions and reviewing them a day or two later when the emotional heat is gone.
And I guess just practicing taking that mental step back during a hand.
That's the hardest part. You have to momentarily turn off the part of your brain that wants to win and turn on the cold, objective analyst.
It's a reminder that what seems obvious to an outsider can be totally invisible when you're too close.
And that idea of objectivity connects perfectly to our final model, the circle of control.
This one was popularized by Stephen Covey.
Yeah, and it's all about separating things into 3 buckets. Things you control, things you can influence, and things that are completely beyond your control.
And in a game like poker or in the market. So much is outside your control.
Almost everything. The cards you get, how your opponents play, the short-term luck, all of it.
So the circle of control forces you to put 100% of your energy only on that tiny circle of things you can control.
Your decisions, your preparation, your study habits, and this is the big one, your emotional responses. You can't control the deck.
But you can control your strategy.
Yes.
I see this as the ultimate tool for managing tilt. Let's say you have pocket aces, you get all your money in, and you lose to a total long shot on the river, a bad beat.
The worst feeling. But that outcome is 100% outside your control.
And recognizing that gives you immediate relief.
It does. You can't control the bad luck, but you can control your response. You can acknowledge the variance, take a deep breath, maybe walk away from the table for a minute.
And then refocus on making the next right decision.
That's how you stop one bad beat from spiraling into an hour of bad play. The moment you waste energy on the outcome, you're stealing energy from the only thing that matters.
Which is the quality of your next decision.
So we have this toolkit, 6 powerful frameworks, but they are tools, they're not rigid rules. You have to actually practice using them.
Right. They require some intentional effort to really integrate.
Absolutely. To start, you have to be deliberate. Think about which situations call for which model. Use 80-20 for your study plan. Use Occam's razor when an opponent confuses you.
And use the circle of control for those moments you feel your emotions taking over.
Exactly. And don't try to master all 6 at once. That's just a recipe for overload.
Pick 1 or 2.
Pick one. Practice it until it feels natural. Then, when you review your sessions, don't just ask, did I play this hand right?
Ask, did I apply the model correctly? Do I fall into a blind spot because I forgot to apply relativity?
Yes. You could even create little reminders for yourself, a sticky note on your monitor that says invert before a big decision.
I like that. And teaching it to someone else is always the best way to reinforce your own understanding.
For sure. In terms of a timeline, you can see real improvements in your decision-making quality within just a few weeks of trying this. But true mastery, where it becomes second nature, that takes longer.
Of course. But the takeaway is to start using them situationally. Via Negativa to plug leaks, Inversion when there's big risk, relativity when you feel stuck.
The key thing to realize is that the best players, whether they're in a boardroom or at a poker table, don't just have more technical knowledge, they have better thinking processes.
And these models provide the structure for that process.
They give you a way to cut through the complexity and make calm, clear decisions under fire. If you run your choices through these filters, you're already way ahead of someone who's just playing on pure instinct.
Now, here is a final thought for you to take with you from all this.
We noted that these models apply everywhere. But some, like the circle of control or inversion, become especially critical in, say, a high-stakes tournament, where the pressure and the value of every decision changes constantly.
So the challenge for you is to consider how applying these frameworks might change based on the changing stakes in your own life, in your career, in your personal decisions. When the pressure is at its absolute highest, which one of these models becomes your anchor?